Well. I recently stumbled upon some shocking research about PTSD, and it got me thinking. How many celebrities and business bigwigs out there have managed to rise above their trauma and come out on top? I mean, if they can do it, there's hope for the rest of us, right? So I put on my detective hat and I started digging for juicy details. I was looking for those shining examples of folks who kicked PTSD to the curb and lived to tell the tale. And you know what my extensive research uncovered? A whopping 6 people. Yep, out of the entire world population, only 6 brave souls were willing to publicly admit that they conquered their demons, talked about it exclusively. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's got to be more than just 6. And you're probably right. But hey, I'm working with what I've got here. I'll spill the beans on those magnificent 6 later, so stay tuned. You know, I really should have seen this coming. I mean, have you ever caught an episode of Law & Order, SVU? Those poor victims are always put through the ringer when they seek justice. It's like society collectively decides to play the blame game and make them feel like somehow they asked for it. Talk about adding insult to injury. So these victims end up lugging around a whole lot of misplaced guilt and shame, like an emotional ball and chain. And if there are folks who have only ever pondered trauma or watched it play out on TV screens, I mean, they've got these Pollyanna perspectives, putting victims on a pedestal without a clue about the gritty reality of living through and rising above such an ordeal. I get it. This is heavy stuff, and you might be tempted to peace out right now, but if you're ready to take a deeper dive into the abyss, stick with me. Our society can be pretty darn shallow and judgmental when it comes, but times are changing. We've got brave souls like those gymnasts who spoke out against their doctor who abused them, even though they were terrified and no one would believe them. And let's not forget the power of social media. It's given a voice to so many survivors, shining a light on the dark underbelly of trauma. Sure, social media has its pitfalls, but let's focus on the positive here, folks. It's high time we put an end to the stigma and start having some real talk about trauma. No more suffering in silence or feeling ashamed for something that was done to you. We need to listen to each other, support one another, and collectively give the middle finger to victim blaming. Change takes time, though. I mean, women got the right to vote ages ago, but it took generations for them to truly feel empowered. And don't even get me started on the atrocities of slavery. Kidnapping people from their homes, forcing them into labor, treating them like animals. It's taken decades for the descendants of slaves to begin to feel genuinely free, even after being granted civil rights. Why is that, you ask? Well, true change happens deep down in our hearts in the way that we feel, and in the biases and prejudices we inherit from our communities. We can talk the talk all day long, but until we walk the walk, these old patterns will keep rearing their ugly heads. So here's the thing. Some of us have had transformative experiences that have shaken us to our core. Take me, for example. I got struck by lightning and drowned, only to come back to life with a whole new perspective. It's like I got a free pass to peek behind the curtain and see what makes people tick. And you know what I discovered? We're all stumbling around, trying to break free from the limitations and patterns we were handed as kids. But with the power of social media and a willingness to be transparent, we're slowly but surely creating a world where people can be their authentic selves, trauma and all. So let's not get bogged down in the blame game and oversimplify these complex issues that have plagued humanity for centuries. Instead, let's open our hearts, face some hard truths, and stop playing the old tired games. Now, as I promised, let's talk about 6 incredible people who have risen from the ashes of trauma like majestic phoenixes. We've got Lady Gaga, who was raped at 19, but went on to win every award under the sun. Travis Barker, who survived a horrific plane crash and used it as fuel to reunite his band and release some kick-ass albums. And let's not forget Ariana Grande, who honored the victims of the Manchester bombing by raising millions for their families, all while battling her own PTSD. These folks, along with Whoopi Goldberg, Fiona Apple, and Oprah Winfrey, are living proof that trauma doesn't have to define you. With the right support and treatment, you can heal and thrive no matter what life throws your way. But it's not just celebrities who are slaying their PTSD dragons. We've got business leaders like Stephanie Fu, who turned her childhood trauma into a memoir and successful career in radio. Kathy Caprino, who built her own coaching empire after battling suicidal thoughts. And Anushka Marson, who channeled her healing journey into a thriving career as a writer and mental health advocate. These badasses are breaking down the stigma around trauma and mental health, one success story at a time. And while there are probably way more than just these few examples, a lot of people choose to keep their battles private. I mean, who can blame them? Trauma is deeply personal and painful to revisit. Plus, complex PTSD is still a relatively new diagnosis, so a lot of people may be struggling without even realizing what they're dealing with. And let's not forget the harsh reality that getting proper treatment can be crazy expensive, especially for marginalized communities who are at most at risk for trauma in the first place. But despite all the obstacles, these success stories give me hope. They show that healing is possible, even if the road is long and bumpy. And as we continue to raise awareness and advocate for better access to care, I believe we'll see more and more people speaking out and claiming their power. So here's to all the survivors out there, whether you're famous or not, keep fighting for the good fight and know that your story matters. And who knows, maybe one day we'll live in a world where PTSD success stories are the norm, not the exception.